This question comes from Freedom for All, furufinance. Thanks again for this video. I did have another question. How do you personally know when to sell? For example, selling early to capture ROI, or when do you diamond hand for years? Tragically, some Luna holders diamond handed to zero. Any advice you have on this? Thanks a million. Well, thank you, Freedom for All, and thank you for your comments and your insightful questions. I want to first focus on the last part about Luna. It just goes to show you the importance of doing research and buying good projects. Understand what you are holding and understand the risks. The Luna tokenomics, the lower the price went, the more tokens went into circulation. And obviously the higher the price went, the less tokens went into circulation. Obviously Hex is a great project. In my opinion, not financial advice, you should continue to hold. Ethereum, great project. While I think that Hex and Pulsechain will outperform it, you continue to hold, you'll do well. Bitcoin was a good project, but obviously if you understand it and you understand its flaws and how it's not adapting to the changing times while other projects are, I think you would understand that, in my opinion, it would no longer be wise to hold Bitcoin. I don't see its future. But obviously you have to understand what you're holding and you have to decide on that. Now, I can't make decisions for you. I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. As far as knowing when to sell, the issue with taking profits is you can get emotional. Price appreciation triggers greed, which triggers not selling. And then obviously price depreciation triggers panic, which triggers selling. People talk about Hex doing a 10,000x and like everyone's talking about, 500, 1,000x, 10,000x with these new projects as if it's a given. A lot of people have the confidence that they are going to be able to sell and take profits at the right time. But just from my experience in this past bull market, I got in on one project, which I'm not going to say what it was, but it did a 40-50x. I got in on a 40-50x and sitting on those profits got me extremely emotional. As soon as it had its first correction and I was down 70 and 80% of what I once had, I kept on thinking on the way back up that, oh, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to get out. And then I sold it and then it did a 2x from there. And I thought like, oh my gosh, I could have had so much more. It's just impossible to do. And you shouldn't have the mindset that you are above it all and capable of doing that. I think that's the first thing to understand. And the way to avoid that position is by having money to take care of yourself. I think by working and by having cash flow and having a cushion of cash in the bank that if the project goes to zero, you're fine. I think that makes you less emotional. That's one thing. And then obviously you have Hex. I think Hex in very many ways solves that because it saves you from yourself. You make a plan of when your stakes are going to unlock, and when they come out, you sell them and you still have that much more exposure to the price appreciation over the next 15 years. I think that's why it's important to make a staking ladder in Hex, throw it out 15 years and then ladder it back to the present. As far as Pulsechain and PulseX, they don't have that game theory. Although Maddie Allen, who has been extremely kind to me and promoted me on a show, which he didn't have to, and I'm so grateful. I know he's coming out with a project called smartvault.me, although I have not delved deep into the research. I do plan on doing that. He has a project that is implementing the aspect of Hex that saves you from yourself. He's implementing that to Pulsechain and PulseX, which is good for you because you're not going to have weak hands. And it's good for the price because people aren't going to sell as much. So I think that's definitely something to look into for Pulse and PulseX. I think it's very important for not only the price of appreciation, but more importantly for achieving your goals of financial freedom. I think that's great. I think it's something that does well for everybody. So I think that's something to look into. But as far as just knowing when to take profits, I think you have to plan now. And one of the major things involved in planning is by earning money, is by being comfortable and changing your mindset. I think the rich people, the people that Richard talks about, the people that have experienced the major returns, the 10,000, 100,000, 1 million X of Bitcoin, are people that were already rich, because the people that weren't wealthy, they had to sell on the 10X because they saw the corrections, they panicked, and they were shaken out because they needed that money. They were in fear of the scenario in which it goes to zero, and they missed out on the life-changing gains. So I think a big part of that is to have money. And that doesn't mean you have to be a multi-millionaire, but have enough money to live that you don't have to be watching the charts and having this insane FOMO. So the more money you have, the less likely it is that you're going to need to time the market. And you could start now by working and by also investing in, I think investing in index funds and your Roth IRA is something that is good to have, not only for the gains, which are obviously very small in comparison to cryptocurrency, but it is good for your mental health, for your personal mindset. I think if you have a correction in the S&P 500, that's like a 20, 30, in the worst case, like 40, 45% correction, which is nothing in crypto. In fact, those kinds of corrections happen during bull markets. So I think having the peace of mind that you have money put away into non-volatile assets like index funds that appreciate over time that you have for your retirement can help prevent this desire of timing the markets. And I think earning money through a profession or your business also helps mitigate these harmful desires of greed that there could be. But obviously, you are going to want to take profits at some point. When your bag is up, 50, 100, 200, 500x, you are going to want to take profits. And the question is not going to be if, it's going to be when, because you are going to be sitting on returns and money, potential, cash that you never had access to. So I think the mindset should be is that you have a profession, you're earning money, you're not trying to cash out and retire, because that will likely having you sell early or late and cause you to lose exposure to a considerable, meaning 40, 50, 60, 70, 80% of your bag. So obviously the way to avoid that in Hex is the staking ladder, which is awesome, which is why I'm so bullish on Hex. As far as Pulsechain and PulseX, everyone's situation is different, which is why it's so important to highlight that I'm not a financial advisor and it's not financial advice, because I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you my mindset and what I plan on doing. First of all, know what you're holding. Ask yourself, do you believe these projects are going to be around for the next 5, 10, 15 years? Because if you do, then why would you be selling it after 2? I mean, you know what happens when you sell it. Price goes up, you feel like it's going to do another 4, 10x from there, and you're going to miss out on it, and you quickly buy back in, and then you're usually too late. The price crashes, and then you sell because you feel like you're going to lose more, etc. If that's the case, that it's going to be around for the next 5, 10, 15 years, you have plenty of time. There's no need to rush. If it goes up and you make tens of millions of dollars and you could cash out a small percentage, like 10, 15%, and you can live out the rest of your life without having to work, then great. But don't expect that. Don't have those high expectations, because they will likely let you down, especially if you're already thinking like, when should I cash out? That's already a problem. Do you think that rich people are thinking, when should I cash out? No, they already have everything they need. For them, it's just a numbers game. I mean, maybe they'll take profits, but that's not something that consumes them. You want to minimize that tendency, which would be by earning money now, obviously, by putting money away in safer investments and not expecting to make those life-changing gains in the first bull market. The mindset that I'm having, and I think a great mindset to have, is that you'll walk out of the next bull market with 6 figures, maybe with $100,000, $150,000 by selling a small percentage, like 5, 10, maybe 15, but in my opinion, no more than 20. And you could have $100,000, $150,000 to last you for the next couple of years. You'll continue to work, which is fine. If anything, it's probably not healthy to not work, but you will be comfortable. You'll be able to afford the things that you need and the things that you want. You won't have to be worrying about losing your job as much. You might have more flexibility to start a business or look for another job that you prefer. And then by the time the next bull market comes, if you believe that Hex is going to be around for the next 5, 10, 15 years, the odds of you having that never work again money are very, very, very high. I mean, just think about it. So yeah, that should be your mindset. I mean, you shouldn't be looking to sell. Once you sell a lot, it's very hard to get back in. You step out of rhythm and now you're into that mindset of timing the market. You almost always fail. I mean, it just doesn't work. And the people that are smart enough to realize, the smart money is smart enough to realize that they cannot time the market. It would be foolish. The stakes are too high. They can lose everything, and the gains are considerably smaller than that of those who are just patient, dollar cost average, and allow time to pass and their investments to appreciate. If you sell and the price goes up, you get suckered into buying back. And if it goes down, then you panic sell. It happens to everyone. No matter how many times you go through this, the cycle doesn't end. You just have to understand that you cannot time the market. Timing the market is gambling. So to summarize, in terms of a selling strategy, not financial advice, through your own research. But for Hex, luckily, you're good. You can make that 15-year staking ladder, which gives you a plan in which to unlock and sell, which prevents you from timing the market. And hopefully you can make enough profits from the next bull run just from selling your first stake unlocked or the interest that you don't need the money from cashing out your Pulse and PulseX. I don't think that timing the market is really an issue with Hex. I think Hex has that covered. As far as Pulse and PulseX, ask yourself, do you understand them? Do you believe they're going to be around the next 5, 10, 15 years? If you don't believe it, don't buy. Why would you want to own something that you're going to have to time in order to make money? If yes, lower your expectations and be in a position where you have the cash necessary to live off, that you don't have to give in to the tendencies of timing the market. We all know that it is foolish. So the best way to do that would be lower your expectations. Don't have this mindset that you have to cash out and never work again after one bull market. Probably not something that's healthy, but have the expectations that you'll come out of this bull market with enough money that you can be comfortable and flexible while you sit through the next bear market, that you can have money to live off and you have income from your job or your business or T-shares, whatever it is. Obviously, a good thing to research would be Maddie Allen's Smart Vault. That will also allow you to save yourself from your early selling tendencies and your emotions by implementing the same tactics that Hex has to solve it. So that would also be something to look into. If those returns come, if you get those shocking returns that the people that bought into Hex had, which can happen, never say never in cryptocurrency. The unlikely is often the likely. If you get those returns that you have tens of millions of dollars that you could retire after one bull market with selling a small percentage and keeping your exposure, then that's awesome. But don't expect it. Minimize those externalities, those variables that will cause you to want to time the market. We all know that time in the market always beats time in the market. So while you might have to take some profits to last yourself through the bear market after the upcoming bull market, try to minimize this mindset of timing the market, which you can do through earning money, having cash flow, saving for your retirement, etc. Thanks for watching Freedom for All. Thank you for your question and your engagement. It's much appreciated, very thought-provoking and insightful. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, and follow me on Twitter. Thank you.